Well, it's a great privilege for us to welcome Emily Maguire to Under the Edge Arts tonight. Welcome back, Emily. It's a couple of years since you were here.
It is, yeah. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah, it's great to see you and Christian. We're looking forward to the show later on, and I think we're going to get a good number of people here. This is almost the start of your tour. Can you tell us a little bit about the tour and what the theme is?
I'm doing 5 months of gigs across the UK, and also doing some shows in Germany in March, which I'm really looking forward to. And I'm promoting my latest album, A Bit of Blue.
A Bit of Blue.
Which is
talking
here.
Of which?
Yeah.
That's it, yeah. And you've got a bit of a novelty way of marketing it, because you've got a memory stick version.
I have got a memory stick version.
Yeah.
On a USB stick.
That's wonderful. So how many gigs is that in total on the tour?
I think it's about, I think it's 28, maybe 30, something like that.
Is this the most challenging tour you've done?
No, I've done some pretty challenging tours in my time. I toured with Dr. Hook. Do you remember Dr. Hook?
Quite, yeah.
And I did 70 shows with him across the UK, and that was pretty full on.
Yeah.
And I also did a tour of Germany a couple of years ago where I played, I think it was 35 shows in 3 weeks or something. We were sometimes doing 2 a day, and it was just insane.
So you wouldn't do that again?
No, possibly not.
What's the biggest venue you've played to, biggest audience?
The Royal Albert Hall,
Wow.
to 4,000 people,
Right.
with Don McLean.
Oh, with Don, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to sing with Dr. Hook or Don
No,
McLean?
I didn't sing with them, no. But I was on the road for a while, you know. I was on the road with Don McLean for, I think it was about a month.
Yeah.
And then with Dennis from Dr. Hook, 7 months I was on the road with him for. So I got to know him pretty well. He's a lovely guy. I'm still in touch with him.
Very popular musician,
yeah. I was supposed to tour with Don McLean, Australia actually. He asked me a couple of times if I'd tour Australia with him. But we were based in the UK at the time, and we worked out that to do the tour, it was 11 dates, and we worked out we'd have to pay for 22 flights to do it.
So, yeah.
And we were like, we didn't have the money to do it.
And that was without your huge light show that you take around.
My huge light show that I take around everywhere, yes, that's right. Yeah.
So, well, I mean, we're very lucky to have you tonight. We've never had Don McLean, we've never had Dr. Hook, but I guess there's always time.
Yeah.
Tell me about the books that you've written,
Well,
please, because it fascinates me that such a great musician as yourself has gone into some fairly revealing stuff about your life.
Yeah. Well, this is my first book. This is Start Over Again. That was launched on Radio 2 on World Mental Health Day.
Yeah.
And it's basically a very personal account of my experiences of living with bipolar disorder. And before that point, I had been doing a lot of touring and a lot of media interviews, and I was hiding my condition.
Right.
My manager at the time had advised me to keep quiet about it.
Yeah.
And in the end, I had another breakdown, and I just didn't want to hide it anymore. So I wrote this book in true dramatic style.
Had you written a lot before?
But I've been writing all my life. You know, I'd written journals, and it's some very, very personal diary entries because from my journals. So yeah, I got an amazing reaction from that when it first came out, because it was kind of at the beginning of the real anti-stigma campaigns like Time to Change.
Yeah.
And I got messages from people saying, you know, that I had one man who told me that he'd had depression and never even told his family. So then that was in 2010 I published that, and then 6 years later I published this, which is Notes from the North Pole, which is basically a collection of prose, poetry and song lyrics, and I wrote that out. That came out of a time had a couple of years where I couldn't play music because I had tendinitis, and instead I wrote, put together this book, and and I'm now working on my third book. Well, it's written. I've written lots and lots of poetry, which I wrote when I couldn't play music. So I started writing a poem a day because I practice Buddhism and I meditate every morning. And so after my meditation, I'd write a poem with a coffee. And so it's all sort of stream of consciousness stuff. And so that's going to come out at some point.
Do you perform the poetry at all?
Yeah, I do sometimes. I mean, I often read from my books at gigs. Yeah. It's nice
do any
to.
of that tonight?
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah, going to read a little bit. Yeah.
We love poetry, and we're
Do you? Well, it may not be poetry tonight. It might be a story.
a story. We like stories as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we like poetry.
Yeah.
We've got Rosie Bailey, who's the surviving partner of UA Fanthorpe, who's
Really?
one of our great
I
poets.
love UA Fanthorpe. I studied her at school.
Rosie was in here last night.
Really?
And, UA unfortunately passed away a few years ago.
Right.
Yeah, Rosie and her were great friends of the town, and vice versa.
Wow.
And a lot of UA's poems and Rosie's poems. Rosie's, I think, had 6 or 7 volumes of poetry
Has she?
published. Yeah.
I'll have to look. I'll look her
And,
up. Rosie Bailey, did
Rosie
you say?
Bailey, yeah.
Right.
Dr. Rosie Bailey. Rosie's still doing book fairs and festivals and
Right.
things, when time allows. And she'll be performing here on March the 24th, but I think you'll probably be in Germany.
I will be. I'll be in Stockton on Tees.
Stockton on Tees. Crikey. Get your passport stamped. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, no, we just love poetry. I mean, maybe you'll come back and do another gig
Yeah,
purely
when my
based on
book's
reading
out.
and poetry.
Yeah.
Because we do like it, and we don't do enough spoken word in this venue. Really. We'd like to do a bit more.
Great.
Yeah. What did you study at school and university?
I didn't
Which
go to
direction were you gonna
university.
go
I went to my school career was interrupted a bit because I had my first breakdown when I was 16. But when I went back, I did English and French A level, and then after that, I didn't want to go to university. I wanted to work, so I got a job in a publisher's,
Right.
and started working there and learnt how to copy edit and proofread and do admin and I really enjoyed it. Actually, it was great.
Did you meet a lot of writers doing
No,
that
it
work?
wasn't a publisher, that kind of fiction publishing. It was
Right.
actually health education publishing.
Mm-hmm.
It was in Cambridge where I was living at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I went to work for the Cambridge Arts Theatre
Oh.
as an office manager or something, or administrator or something.
Yeah.
I had to wear a suit. I had to pretend to be older than I was. They only gave me the job on the basis that that I wasn't to tell anybody that I was under 25, and I was only 19 at the time. So, and then I went to work for the Junction, an arts venue, music and arts venue in Cambridge, which was fantastic, and I did all their PR and worked on programming and duty managing, and
Right.
loved that job. But then I got ill, so I had fibromyalgia, so I ended up
Did you?
at home again.
Crikey.
Yeah, but that's where the songwriting came, so
Yeah.
it was a blessing in disguise.
It's a
really.
painful illness to have. isn't it?
Yeah, no, it was horrible, but like I say, if I hadn't have had it, I would never have found out I could write songs, and so
Yeah.
my whole life has been kind of directed by that really. So it was great, and I was cured of it when I was 26. So after 10 years, so I was really lucky, because some people I think never really get
No, they don't.
better.
What was the cure? Can I inquire?
You can inquire, yeah. I mean, this is probably a bit it's always very controversial, but I was cured by Dr. Peter Fisher at the Royal Homeopathic Hospital in London, having tried absolutely everything else to get better.
Right.
So that was what happened to me.
I know one particular sufferer after pass that information.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Tell us about the first album that you made and how it came to be.
The first album came
Is it
to
on
be
here?
because, this is my first album, Stranger Place. And it was came about because I went for a 3-week holiday to Australia to see my old friend Christian. And I was at a total loss what to do with my life. I was at a crossroads. I just had a major breakdown and been hospitalised, and I said to him one day, I don't know what to do, and he's, what should I do with my life? He said, well, why don't you stay and make a record? So a 3-week holiday ended up being 4 years of living out in the bush in this very beautiful big shack that Christian had built out of tree trunks and potato sacks. And we made my first 2 albums there. We made this one there as well. This one was Keep Walking.
I hope you had planning permission for it, didn't you?
Yeah, well, less said about that, the better.
And that was the second one, Keep Walking.
Yeah, and this was the title track of this was my first single on Radio 2. So that was I actually wrote that song when I was desperately trying to persuade Australian immigration to give me a visa, and they wouldn't. And I got stuck in London in a very long, dark winter, waiting for them to change their mind. And it was actually, again, another blessing in disguise, because I wrote Keep Walking then, because I was just thinking of needing a song about persevering,
Yeah. So how did you survive? How did you make a living?
I was, for those 6 months, I was actually living with my mum in London, so I was, just waiting and doing paperwork, and then we had our business back in Australia of making cheese, so I was a cheese maker.
Blessed are the cheesemakers.
Blessed are the cheesemakers.
I wish we had a cheese in Wootton, but we don't.
Yeah.
We don't. We should have a sheep's cheese, because this is sheep country historically.
I went back to Australia at Christmas actually, and I tried making some cheese, and it was a disaster. The goats were just not being fed the right food. It's very, it's very important with cheese making that the milk is okay. And so that meant with goat's cheese that the goats have got to be happy.
Yes.
And not stressed, and not eating mash. And various other factors, or not eating too much dry grass or too much wet grass, and everything, it can all go wrong really easily. But I used to make probably the best feta cheese in Australia. That is no idle boast, and that's from somebody who can't cook to save my life.
I don't see it on the merch desk.
It's
tonight.
not on the merch desk, no.
There's no cheese
we used
tonight.
to sell it in Australia. But I was taught by my mother-in-law, who's a champion cheesemaker, and she taught me the art of making good goat's cheese. And I loved it. It was great.
Fascinating. There's just a couple of points I'd like to ask you before we close, and you start to get ready for the show, which is an hour away now.
Yeah.
We've in this arts centre, we've tried to get an art for well-being program off the ground, and not got very fast so far. But trying to prove the link between the performing arts and the visual arts and good health, physical health and mental health. And we haven't quite squared the equation off yet. We really haven't got the local surgeries switched on, and but we intend to persevere. Is that something you've come across, this idea of social prescribing and trying to avoid the huge bills for drugs on the national health, and instead pushing people towards music and art as therapy?
Absolutely. I mean, I do a lot of gigs in mental health hospitals and for mental health groups, and I've had some extraordinary experiences with people, with patients coming alive, with music. I'd met one girl in the psychiatric hospital in Bath who was not speaking to anybody, was completely withdrawn, looked absolutely catatonically depressed. And I got my guitar. I asked her if she knew any Bob Marley, because I heard somebody said to me she used to sing in a gospel choir. And I got my guitar out and I said, "Do you know any Bob Marley?" And she said, "Yeah." She said, "Yeah." So I got her to come into the next door room with me, and started playing. She started singing, and we sang Three Little Birds and No Woman No Cry And by that time, she was smiling, she was looking me right in the eye, she was singing her heart out. It was amazing, and all the staff were like, and that was free. That didn't cost the NHS anything. You know, no drugs, no talking therapy, no, you know, I think sometimes those things have their place. Medication is very important, you know, but I think the music has got the power to reach places that other therapies can't reach, and you can do it very quickly and very cost effectively as well. So I'm very passionate about the benefits of music for mental health, and I you know, I put my money where my mouth is, you know, by going and doing these gigs and
that's great to hear.
You know, bringing music to people who are stuck in hospitals. Being stuck in hospitals is horrible, because I know, because I've been there.
Wow, that's quite a tale, and great commitment of yours. The other thing is that Wootton-under-Edge is quite a small town, about 4,500 people. And we have an ambition to be labelled a mental health friendly town. And you know, we're going through that kind of process at the moment, albeit in a fairly drawn out way. And is that something that you think should be rolled out a little bit more in towns and cities across the country?
I think anything that helps to raise awareness of mental health is great. You know, I mean, 1 in 4 people suffer from it. You know, and if 1 in 4 people suffer from it, then that means a lot more people are affected by it. You know, my husband has to look after me when I'm ill. It's very difficult for him. My family get affected by it as well. So everybody goes through times in their lives when they need a bit of support and things are tough. You know, everybody has highs and lows, not just people with bipolar disorder. So I think the more that people can talk about it and more awareness that's raised about it, the better.
Well, hopefully when you come back to do the next show in a few years' time, we'll be a mental health friendly town and a dementia friendly town. That's our ambition. So look forward to hearing you later on. Thanks for the chat.
Pleasure.
And good luck with the rest of the tour.
Thank you.